As a survivor of postpartum anxiety with panic disorder and psychotic features, about a year and a half ago, I never thought I would be here in this room talking to you all today. I always thought of myself as a super mom. But after the pregnancy with my third child, I had a severe mental breakdown. I didn't think it could happen to me. I had had 2 previous pregnancies that went smoothly. I had no prior history of mental illness. I had a smooth, uncomplicated pregnancy. I thought that I could handle this all. I had done it before. I had 3 postpartum depression screenings we talked about, and they all missed me. I went undiagnosed until it was almost too late, and then I spent 12 days in a behavioral health unit. I was convinced that I would never be able to raise my daughter, who is now a happy, healthy 21-month-old girl. But at the time, I pictured my life as Winona Ryder in the movie, what is that movie called? I'm blanking on it. But the Winona Ryder movie where she's institutionalized, and I thought that was going to be my life. Girl interrupted. Yes, thank you. I was convinced that's what had happened to me, and I had no idea what had gone wrong. And the postpartum depression screenings didn't work for me because I wasn't depressed. I did not have the typical symptoms of depression. I was not crying. I was not sad. I was not weepy. I want to explain today the differences between postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, and why it is so important for providers to recognize these differences and to recognize the fact that postpartum anxiety can present itself in very different ways as it did in my case. I really thought of myself as Supermom. I was a marketing executive. I have a master's degree. I handled my life with ease. I multitasked. I did all these things, and I always felt like I did them well. So why would this happen to me? I didn't have the typical risk factors. I wasn't in poverty. I was in a healthy relationship. It was a planned pregnancy. We have a great family. What went wrong? I'm not sure if I'll ever know what went wrong, but I've been writing my story and telling my story to try and figure it out, to try to help clinicians and try to help other women who maybe have had a similar experience. My first signs of anxiety, I had a panic attack in the hospital after giving birth. I didn't know I had a panic attack. I had no idea what a panic attack was. But what happened was the night before I was supposed to go home from the hospital, my husband was diagnosed with strep throat, and they kicked him out of the hospital, and it was right at the time when H1N1 was very popular, and they didn't want anybody staying at the hospital. At the same time, my 2.5-year-old was suffering from a severe asthma attack, and I was very worried about not being there for him, and I was worried that he was going to be hospitalized too. I was worried that the family was falling apart, and that I wasn't there, and that I couldn't control things. And as a person that's very type A and likes to control things, this was extremely difficult. So I woke up in the middle of the night, and I probably texted my husband about 100 times saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? What happened? Do you have H1N1? You know," and it was just panic. And I remember just shooting up right out of my hospital bed, freaking out. And then I pushed the call button for the nurse, and I call that the panic button because I use that panic button a lot. And when I went to the hospital with my third pregnancy, my attitude was, well, this is easy. I've done this twice before. This is no big deal. I'm going to just get in there. I'm going to leave as soon as possible. I'm going to go home, and I'm going to carry on with my life as normal. Well, I started crying like nothing else, and I told the nurse that there is no way that they can send me home from the hospital. I cannot go home. I cannot take care of a sick husband, an infant, and a sick child with a severe asthma. I can't do it. I just can't do it. There's no way I can do this. And they told me I had an uncomplicated vaginal birth. There was nothing wrong with me. I was physically great. I needed to get sent home early. And that was that, and, you know, be on your merry way. So the next morning when the pediatrician came to examine my baby, I broke down again, and I said, I can't go home, I can't go home. There's no way I can handle my life at home. I have a sick husband, I have a sick toddler, I have another son, and I have this new baby who, is a perfectly healthy baby, but it's too overwhelming, I can't do it. And he really kind of looked at me and went, well, yeah, I have 4 kids, it's fine, you'll be fine, no big deal. You have to go home, this is our hospital policy, we always send new moms home, after your 2-night stay, and you'll be just fine, don't worry about it. And I didn't even realize this until I had written my book that this was the first sign of anxiety. I didn't think I had anxiety at this point. I had no idea. I thought this was normal. But when I wrote it out, I went, it was there from when I gave birth. I don't recognize symptoms of anxiety perinatal, though they may have been there. So really had this fear of going home with a new baby, begging them to let me stay and saying, I can't handle it at home. The first 2 weeks after I had given birth, my mantra was, I'm just fine. And this is a photo of my daughter and I at less than 2 weeks old. And we did a photo shoot. We went and did this modeling job. She was 2 weeks old. This went into a national campaign for Target Portrait Studios. I still see this image to this day. They recycle it many times. It's been all over the country. My brother in California saw it in his happenings book. And we look peaceful there. We look normal. And who would have known that I was dying inside? And in this photo, the only thing I can remember going is they're letting me close my eyes for most of the photo shoot. And most of the photos, I got to lie down with the baby on my chest and close my eyes. And all I could think of is maybe I can sleep for a few minutes. Being the super mom that I am, who never likes to say no and always has that, yeah, I can do it, I can take that on, I decided to entertain out-of-town company and took care of 5 kids under 5, 2 weeks postpartum. I had a sleepover, we baked cookies, we went to the zoo, we went to the water park, we went out to eat, we ran and we ran and we ran. I took no time out for myself during these first 2 weeks after giving birth. My 2 boys were 2 and 4 years old at the time, and I felt that I needed to just be normal for them, and that I needed to carry on and I needed to keep going. But during this period, I never slept. I was so afraid that I would miss the baby crying. I had the baby next to me in bed, and I was afraid that if she cried, her brothers would wake up. And I was afraid if her brothers would wake up, then they would be crabby, and then I would have more to deal with. And I was nursing. And so instead of waiting for the baby to cry to need to be nursed, every single hour I would just get up and nurse her. And I would never sleep. It was a little bit obsessive, probably. I have to nurse her, I have to nurse her, I have to nurse her. I don't do well when I travel and don't sleep, so the 2 weeks of sleep deprivation, keeping up with a sick child with asthma, a sick husband, and a sick baby started to take their toll. I had a postpartum nurse come visit me from the hospital since I was released early, and I took the typical PPD depression screening. I passed with flying colors. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't sad. I wasn't weepy. And she didn't suspect that anything was wrong. Even though I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating normally, and I was in panic state all the time, they didn't think I had postpartum depression. Here's my husband and I at the zoo when we were entertaining the 5 children. The first time I noticed something was wrong was about 2.5 or 3 weeks postpartum, and I felt dizzy. I felt this physical sensation that something is wrong in my body. I lay down on the couch, and we were going to go to a party, and it was a party because my brother was in town with his new baby, and everyone wanted to meet my new baby, and we had probably 50 relatives coming to the grandparents' house, and I never miss a party. I'm the life of the party, and I was there, and I got up, and the room was spinning, and I was like this, and I oh my God, I can't go. And I didn't know how to tell my mom that I'm going to miss this party that she's throwing for my baby, but I couldn't go. The room started going in and out of focus. My body felt this horrendous sensation of sped up and slow down like this caffeine rush and alcohol collision. And it was fighting itself. And it was very, very physical in nature. I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate on anything. Raising 3 children felt overwhelming. I would just stare at them and go, how did I have 3 kids in 4 years? How did I have 3 kids in 4 years? How can anyone have 3 kids in 4 years? And how am I going to handle this? Because this is crazy. What have I done? I've lost my mind. Why did my husband talk me into having that 3rd baby? I was fine with 2. And I had a lot of resentment over it. I could no longer eat, sleep, or remember anything. My mind was cognitively impaired. My mother-in-law came to stay with us and made dinner, and I would just pace, and I would pace, and I would pace. And then I started going, help me, help me, help me, help me. And I didn't know what was wrong, but I just said, help me, help me, help me. Something's wrong. I don't know what it is. I need an MRI. I need my head scanned. Something is wrong. This was my niece and my son on the right when they were 2 years old. And this picture was when they were baking cookies. I had a hallucination about this photo. They became doubles to me in this picture. I had these evil images of these children becoming doubles. I called my OBGYN clinic. I had talked to a friend who had had a baby 2 weeks before me who had depression. And I talked to her and we were talking and I said, well, something's wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. And it doesn't sound anything like what you have because she was sad and she was crying and she was taking antidepressants.